Okay, let's finish ticket number 12 for this game. And our final event on this ticket is called Tailgater, and well, once again we are going to the mud pool, and except for saying this time, we are using a mud plugger. So hopefully, if it is possible, I can probably get more grip from this thing compared to what I had, of course, with the motorcycles. And well, already used all 4 vehicles up to this point, so it's going to be difficult to know which one I should use again, because there's only 4 vehicles I can really use here. I could use the Asylum again, but I also thought about using the Bushwhacker again, just because of, you know, how much of a resentment this thing is. Yeah, I think I'll use that another time. I'm just going to use the Asylum again, because I want to. Yeah, I don't think I've reused this thing, as far as I know. Unless I did. I think I did reuse this once. Fuck it, I'm just going to use the Slugger instead. Sure, why not? Let's just get this over with. Look, you're in a mud plugger, and you're racing on mudpool. It's a perfect match, and you've done it before, so stop crying and win. Does this help? I think the game might be a mind reader. Probably because it heard me complaining about how fucking atrocious my run was here on the bike. But yeah, I'm using the Slugger again just because I've only used this thing once, as far as I know. And we do have a big rig in this race, but fortunately I am not in one of the vulnerable vehicles, so maybe if it's possible, things might actually go well for once. And again, only 10 opponents in this race, even though that is not the least number of opponents overall, because the least number of opponents I've had in the game up to this point is 7. And sticking of course to the mud, because that's where most of the speed is. Most of the speed is technically in the mud. And at the moment, of course, keeping myself in contention. For the race win as it currently stands, and yeah, I knew that was... I basically knew that was coming once we were side by side. There was no way that was going to work. But guess what? He just attempted a stupid maneuver, which he basically knew overall was probably never going to work. But yeah, I knew very well, once we were side by side through that one section of the course, I knew that was not going to work. And ultimately, I of course was not prepared to give, and neither was he. I guess that's just more or less the sort of, you know, chaos you have to get used to in this game. Because of how much actual chaos there really is. And I'm definitely noticing some damage on the roll bar, so it's only a matter of time before I wreck again. If someone does feel audacious enough to do that. And it looks like it's going to happen again, and indeed it does. I immediately knew that was coming once we were side by side. I just knew that was going to be a maneuver that just simply would not work. But somehow, he was still stupid enough to attempt it anyway. Because if he did that in real life, he would have probably killed me. Is what me thinks. And swiping down the inside, as we now come through here, I've got much more grip in this thing compared to what I had, of course, with the motorcycles. But again, racing here is still not easy. And these big rigs with their motors, they really know how to piss you off. Especially when they're trying to block you for the lead. Although the shame for him is we were 3 abreast and I was basically down the inside, just darting my way through there like a surgeon. Just doing it about as accurately as a knitting surgeon, I guess you could say. Or a sewing surgeon. I don't know which word makes more sense, but you get my philosophy. I hope. And yep, I've got the bulldog right behind me. So it is fair to say it's very much a game of cats and dogs up to this point. Me, of course, being the cat, and everyone else being the dogs. It's pretty much a chase up to this point, and it looks as though at the moment I am pulling away just a little bit, even though they are closing in once again, but just have to keep using my boost tank and then maybe I'll be able to pull this off. So, not overheating the boost tank, coming through the final corner and right across the line, and that was a much easier race than the last one I had here. Because my god, that race was a bitch. Whereas this one has been more of a smooth sail. And apparent as it might be, the mud plugger does prove to be the perfect match. For this course. It still sucks on how, up to this point, I've not been able to get any reasonable shots in colour because of how much mud there is. Yeah, I'd say that's a decent shot of the slugger. Just gotta go a little bit further and then maybe that'll do it. But I only say maybe. Because it's what I do. And I do it very unnecessarily, but yeah, it's what I do. Okay, I think that should do it for the clickbait. So Chuckles was the person in second position in the big rig, and then Jess Johnson rounds out the podium on the first of the ATVs, and then we had Pasha Svetlana in fourth position, followed by Lord Jim rounding out the top 5, and then for the bottom 10 we had Daniela Charm ahead of Kid Million, Simone Chidwak, Monty Dog, and Will Medaka once again finishes in last. As we only had 10 opponents in that race. Anyways, there we go. Another ticket is complete. And I would say we are pretty much halfway through this game by now, judging by the number of events I've accounted for. But anyways, 4x4 is now complete. And next up will be the rushing roulette ticket, and where our first event is called Crossed Out. Coming up next.